Well, Retief Odendaal, the Nelson Mandela Bay mayor, was removed in a motion of no confidence by the Eastern Cape Municipalities Council at a meeting held yesterday. The EFF and the ANC proposed the motion of no confidence. Gary van Niekerk of the Northern Alliance has since been chosen as the new executive mayor. And to unpack these developments and the coalition politics in the metro, we're joined by political analyst Dr Ongama Mtimka. Dr Mtimka, thank you so much for your time and thank you for joining us on the Weekend Report this morning. I mean, it was a tenuous coalition to begin with, a 10-member party coalition, something that's been unheard of even as we try to make sense of coalition politics in this country. So is it really surprising that less than a year in the role, Mayor Odendaal has been removed?
Well, it is not surprising, and because if you look at the way in which every coalition government has been formed in Nelson Mandela Bay since 2016, actually, and more recently, 8 months ago, when we were in this position, when Retief Odendaal, Bill Harrington, Kuster Jack came into the executive political leadership of the municipality, there was always a difference of about 2 seats that actually decide the day. So it was not surprising then, and it is not now, because this is to be expected in an environment in which there's a lot of bargaining for positions, there's a lot of negotiations, and it's only a matter of time before whoever is the current opposition at any given time can secure enough support among coalition members to actually topple the existing government.
Yeah. From what we've seen with these coalition politics, not just with what's recently happened in Nelson Mandela Bay, but of course what's been happening in the Gauteng metros, is this dominance of power sharing, wherein we have multiple political parties seemingly coming together in alliance to reach a certain outcome, but that on the other side of that outcome, the domineering sort of strategy seems to be how much power can we cordon off or assign to a political party, be it majority or minority. How much of that is actually hurting coalition politics in this country?
Well, it's interesting. I think that the tendency to leverage whatever power dynamics exist in a municipal council to stay longer in council or secure a new council is basic politics. That's what happens. What is seemingly a challenge, in my view, is to have political leaders have a greater threshold for sustaining conflicts than they are currently showing. So what happens is that once there's a breakdown in relationships, once people do not accede to the demands of especially the smaller parties, then they become subject to being persuaded by others to change their loyalty to the coalition. And this is quite interesting because the appetite then to stay within the marriage, if you like, becomes reduced as the prospect for better or greener pastures, becomes higher. We're not going to avoid this politics. And I think that it's time that the ANC in the Eastern Cape pushes forward the process of the Section 12 in Nelson Mandela Bay, where they want to bring about an executive committee system rather than an executive mayoral system that has got a lot more structured power sharing, and it sometimes can actually be derived from the main big parties. And if that is the case, then you take away the power of the smaller parties to want to swing the pendulum the way they want, because they are not getting the results that they need. And also, you have a governance structure that is derived from the 2 major parties in a municipal council, and theoretically you should have more stability that way. But the DA didn't want this, and the ANC, when it is in power, doesn't push as it should to have this executive committee system changed.
Right. I want to tackle this strategy that appears to be almost copy and paste with what we've seen in the Gauteng metros, the ANC and EFF's alliance working together with smaller parties, minority parties in council, giving them the power, if there's a lack of a better word there, to actually elect one of their own candidates, to field one of their own candidates as mayor. Like I've mentioned, we saw it happening in Johannesburg with the case of Thapelo Amand and Kabelo Gwamanda. We're seeing it happen again in this instance with Gary van Niekerk. Are we paying enough attention to that strategy, and how, in a way, it does appear that the ANC, together with the EFF, are managing to claw back power in these metros, even if on the face of it, it doesn't appear so?
So, very interesting, and because I'll talk about it from experience and also in terms of the recent developments. We knew that as soon as power erections in Ekurhuleni happened, as well as city of Joburg initially and then Tshwane, that it was only a matter of time before Nelson Mandela Bay was brought into the fray because of national level politics. And then the other incentive is that we're coming to an election. Now, to your question about why do these parties who are major in the coalitions actually do not get to field their own candidates, I think that they arrive at who must lead the municipal council as a function of two things. One, unpreparedness among themselves to let any one of them to be the mayor. And then secondly, as a strategy to woo the smaller parties by dangling in front of them a bigger carrot. So I think that is the case. From experience, what this has done has given rise to a phenomenon which I wrote about some time ago of highly leveraged power. What I mean by that is that once you have a political arrangement like this where the executive mayor is not from the dominant party, you have a situation where there's high leveraging, and also that power becomes unaccountable. We've seen, for example, with the experience with Bobani, that once you have a person have a powerful position like that in an executive mayoral system, there's no way to control that power, how it's going to be used. And sometimes, in fact, it gets to an extent where even the major party that enabled the rise of that mayoral candidate gets to be in trouble. I mean, it was no less than an unprecedented partnership between the ANC and the Democratic Alliance that actually finally removed Mayor Bobani 3 years ago.
Right. Well, Dr. Mtimka, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for joining us on the Weekend Report, sharing your insights with us. They're welcomed as always. We'll leave it there for now.